Awesome. So, Rocketeers, welcome to our another great live session. And if you identify one of these faces out of the two, you would remember that we had the same individual last year, but he was like on the other side of the studio. This time he's on the other side of the studio. And we also have Anne. So, welcome, Team V01. Guys, it's a very, very special webinar, a very special product. I mean, many people are interested. A lot of them reached out to us saying that number one, the product is very interesting to see because the last product like VO1 came in like I think 2 years back. Since then, there hasn't been any much offerings to the market. So Rocketeers, please welcome Anne and Alex from Team VO1. Thank you so much, first of all, for taking all the time to address the community and talk about the product. And I know 50% of the session is going to be about why did you name it VO1? So we would have that question right now answered so that we can get it out of the way. But yeah, welcome, man.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank
man.
you, Karan. Really appreciate it. Super hyped to be here with the community as well. And to see many familiar faces. As Karan was saying, many or quite a few of you might know me from the Web Studio days, which was a previous lifetime deal launch that we did probably about a year back now from today. But I might kick things off and we'll go around the room with a little intro for those who don't know me. Well, I'll just give a little bit of background in history, hand over to Anton here, who can also share a little bit of background in his history. And then perhaps Karan, we can kick in directly with any questions, demos. I can dive into the naming stuff and we'll take things sort of from there. Cool. And just double checking, everyone can see, hear me loud and clear. We're good to go?
Yep. I can do it. Everyone can hear. And Alex, just type one in the chat box if you can hear all of us collectively, see us properly, and so that we can
we've got John
begin.
here in the chat. Hey, John, lovely to have you. Nice to meet you or virtually meet you. Carly, John Guy, everything sounds good. Thank you so much. All right, well, I might kick off, Karan, with a little intro and around the room for those who don't know me. So,
sure.
Obviously, my name is Alex. I've been in the software startup scene for about a decade now, working at a variety of SaaS startups. Highlight of the journey in the previous startups outside of the LTD world was probably a company called With You With Me, which was an edutech startup that I took from day zero, pretty much. I was employee number 5, and then we grew that to about 600 employees around the world. Fun revenue, fun times, typical, what would you call it? Wolf of Wall Street type job, which is what I like, that early, crazy, chaotic phase. Fast forward a couple of years, some of you might have seen me from time I worked with SoFly, so Oxygen Builder, Breakdance. I was there for a little bit, did a bunch of freelancing, consulting around a lot of the software startups that we see a fair bit in the LTD space. And then you would have last heard from me with Web Studio, which was the last company that I joined as a co-founder. That was a website builder built with some of the guys behind who originally built Webflow as like an open source, our vision of what we had, the website builder space. And then about 5 months ago now, I departed Web Studio. It was shortly after we started working on all of our like hyper growth type marketing work. Frustrated to the core that I couldn't find a solution at Web Studio, and that was a smaller company. So we also couldn't go out and hire a whole engineering team and data team to build what we needed for growth marketing. That's where I got that new itch and was like, I need to fix this shit. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? That sort of leads us a little bit closer today, where about 5-6 months ago, I met Antoine here, who I'll let do his own intro, but he is German based. We both met here in Vietnam, and Antoine comes from a more VC background, which is the side that I always had more difficulty with in the startup scene. I was like, hey, we get along really well. We have a very complementary set of skills. Why don't we build something together? That was about 5 months back. Fast forward all the way through today. Here we are launching a product with RocketHub once again, just like we did about a year ago. And meeting the community again, and super hyped to answer a bunch of your questions, to see you in person. Brett's jumped in. Hey, Brett. and take things from there. But that's me. Also, chuck in any questions as you go through in the chat. We'll probably do like break little groups where as we go, we'll answer the questions and things like that.
Awesome. I love your energy. You're one of the most energetic guys, and of course, we are yet to explore Anne's energy right now. I hope he jumps up by talking around. But like, you're the most energetic guest we had, D partner we had on RocketHub, and we number two is Prateek from Make Forms. Again, he's super energetic team at Make. So even he reads all the questions, he answers himself. He doesn't even get us to it.
I've got to remind myself to be like, Alex, let other people talk. It's okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Grant. I might hand off to Anton now.
And yes, and of course, amazing, I think, work you're doing, and great that you guys met and had this. So, and all to you right now.
Yeah, thank you, Karan. So I'm from actually the Berliner startup crowd. I grew up in Germany, moved then quite like a little bit in the German industry as well. Was, as Alex mentioned, in the VC world. After that, went to startup and was chief of staff, where we had a funding round as well, about 20 mil. After that, went to one of the to NPAL. This is in Germany, one of the most aggressive growing startup. Helped in the operations, and after that, I also decided to, VC is venture capital. Started to found my own startup, and in V1, I'm the ops and strategy guy, and also when it comes to future begging money, that's me. And we are now also in our funding round to raise even more money to bring this as big as possible in future. And doing that, I luckily have Alex, who is take care of the other side. I'm not that strong as. And I'm now here with you to build something great for you. I think I mentioned already, we want actually to build something which is brings so much value for you that it's basically
a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Well, that might be an allergic word in the LTD community. Yeah, Karad's going to be like, don't say that. Okay, not a... Over-delivering on value.
Yes, absolutely. So awesome. I think that's a great, mix and amalgamation of finance, understanding of the tech industry, and then an amalgamation of great knowledge on how to build startups and the growth side. So awesome. Amazing, Anne. Thank you so much for the introduction, and Alex for the introduction. So right now it's time to talk about v01. And before we jump in, why did you name it v01? And then let's get into the product.
Super cool. Fuck yeah. All right, I'll take this on, Anton, because it was a little bit cheeky. I don't know how much of this Anne knows, but we're brainstorming names. This is right when we first met. We were going through an accelerator. And at the time, it was just like, fuck it. Let's just go build. Let's get something up and ready. And so I was like, hey, how about we just call it V1? Actually, the very first name the company had was Ghost. We were officially named as Ghost Team because we couldn't come up with a name. We were just like, let's build something. And then eventually we're like, okay, let's call it V1. We've got the domain for V1. Let's build V1. Then we got into the habit of referring back to it as V1, as version 1. And then as we met our initial partners, some of our initial, both like the partners from the startup scene, but as well as our early pilots, it was a pretty polarizing opinion type thing that we'd get out of it, which is either, fuck, that's a cool name, I like it, or this is the weirdest fucking name ever, you've got to change it. Which is something that I like, which is pretty fucking cool. There's a lot of conversation around it. And eventually, I just sort of mapped all the domains, got everything set up, and then went back to Anton and was like, hey, we're just going to call it V1 for now. And here's a bunch of nice brand examples of what I want to make it look like. hope it's okay. And then he looked at it. He was like, oh, yeah, no, that's cool. Also, I don't care because I care about finance, biz, DevOps, strategy, making sure that we have a lot of money in the bank, which is like, sweet. And then that's how we ended up keeping it as a name. Still today, and as we can see in the comments, polarizing opinions on the name, but it's something that I like that there are polarizing opinions on the name, and the branding play is something that we're going to continue to lean on pretty heavily as we keep growing it and scaling it and community and all that other stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very unique because no one has had ever kept the version 1 of their app as the name of the app. That's very unique. How did you guys went for it?
Yeah.
Of course, SEO, I think you might face something, but I think if you mention SEO, you have no problem with that. So
Yeah.
you'll be able to make that happen. Awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was I know I'm cutting you off and we need to move on, but we've got 2 hours, plenty of time. No, there was, well, on the SEO side, like we had some similar things when we did Web Studio. I don't know if you guys remember, there was another company that launched also a website builder, also called Web Studio when we did that launch. It was like,
yes,
bro, what the fuck? But you know, all things play out, and winners always win is what I like to tell Anton. And we just push through with that. Also, I'm a little cocky and I like to imagine that you start your version 1 product with version 1.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, continuing on, Karan.
Yep. Awesome. So, and of course, for to support it, v01 is also in the programs with the Google, Microsoft, and others, and they're ex-ante as well, which means people have vested interest into v01 along with Alex and so. Product is good. Let's now get into the meat and show people that why growth marketing, number 1, is important using the marketing automation tools and how it can impact someone's business. So let's say if you're a SaaS founder watching it right now, because this recording is going on YouTube, and I know we are going to get a lot of views. So if you are a marketer, you're a SaaS founder, you are someone who has leads into your database, and you cannot automate the process of converting them into paid subscribers or paid customers, you should see this right now and watch the webinar till the end so you can identify how you can make it happen through v01. And that's what Alex and Anna are going to right now demonstrate. All right, let's get into the product now. Awesome.
Super cool. Awesome. So there's many variables to how we get into this. I might kick off with a typical example of how it started, and why we built it in the way that we've built it, why growth marketing, and then we can dive into some use case examples for software companies, digital marketers, growth marketers, and so on. So as I said in the intro, I come from a growth marketing background, and growth marketing is a little bit different from what you typically see in your traditional marketing. And that is that it relies super heavily on your data. So that's both the customer data, as in who they are, where they're from, what they're doing, the usage data, where they are in your product, where they are in your ecom funnel, have they purchased, have they not purchased, are they a free trial or not? And then what interactions they have with your marketing content. Did they open this email? Did they seem to like this content? Do they need a different type of personalized message that is sent to them as a user? That's it. Sounds super easy. Once you start combining all those different things, that's where the challenges start to present themselves. Probably the easiest sort of use case example that I could give, and I can refer back to Web Studio as the example, we wanted to set up super simple free trial funnel. And that is your typical, you sign up to the product, day 1, you get email 1, day 2, you get email 2, day 3, email 3. Pretty easy. Until you start considering edge cases. What happens if they upgrade from the trial before the trial ends? Do they keep getting the trial emails? Do they get taken out of that flow and given different emails? What happens if later down the road they cancel the subscription, they upgrade to something different? You realize they're interested in a different problem solution part of your product. All these different variables, once you start stacking them on top of each other, it becomes extremely difficult to manage where that one little contact goes. And you take that one contact and you times it by your typical SaaS premium database, which tends to be about a 95% free trial versus 5% actual paying you. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of contacts that are just moving all around the place that you're not directly making money from, that you need to monetize. that is the core part, like the core reason of what I wanted to build and why I wanted to build it. Previously, we had engineers and we had data analysts that were part of a growth team and they could support that function. But as I'm now building new startups and we're getting back into the scene, I'm like, fuck, man, you shouldn't need an entire engineering team just to support the marketing guys. Marketers should be able to perform growth marketing work without the need of super technical systems or the knowledge of code or how data infrastructures are set up. So that's what we're building. That's what we initially, and the reason why we plan to set it up. I think that's what we have as version 1 of version 1, where these different flows work, and I'll show you them in an example next. And then sort of us from now, we're then taking that and building on top of that for additional use cases, industries, types of products, with a broader focus on the growth marketing space specifically. So less sales features, more of those trackable, data-driven growth marketing type functionality. So I might dive in and I'll start off with a little share screen. I'll give a quick overview of the product, and then I'll show you how these types of funnels work. And then from there, I'll take a completely or a slightly different use case for perhaps those that are less familiar with the growth marketing scene and more of a digital marketing use case that can be applied, I think, broadly to anyone in the audience here today. Cool.
Awesome. That's amazing. Let's dive into it.
Awesome. Alrighty, I'm going to share my screen.
And of course, when you're doing it, make people understand the funnel and why tracking that funnel is important for a marketer.
Yes.
Because that's where you make money, that's where you save money, and that's where you make more money from existing users, right? Otherwise, if that funnel doesn't exist in your whole marketing journey, then you are lost. You don't know like how to make money from existing customers, how to make referrals work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That I would also say, like, this is a bit of a personal vendetta of mine, where it frustrates me to the core that people still KPI marketers on things like leads. Because, bro, if you need fucking 100 leads, I'll go get you 100 leads tomorrow. They have zero value unless they eventually convert into something. And back to this growth marketing model, the whole idea, right, is that you're tracking the user from the beginning to the, like, throughout their whole life cycle. So you should always know exactly which individual campaign or email or ad generated you that one user 1 year down the line that's giving you the biggest money at the end of the funnel. All ties into it, all plays into it. All right, let's dive in. I'll start off with a screen share. What I'm going to show you here is what you get out of the box. So what I've done to create this instance of the account is I've just gone through the RocketHub checkout process, set myself up with a brand new account.
Awesome.
I've linked some of our Zapier integrations and stuff just to save time over the stream. But yeah, I'll be showing you this through a blank account. Feel free to ask additional questions. I can show some stuff on our main account as well, where what we're doing with V1 for V1, but different use cases. We'll get to it. All right, let's dive in.
Awesome.
Beep, boop, beep, boop. Alrighty, what you should be able to see here is a default looking dashboard, and then V1 on the top left. Can you see what I can see?
Yes, perfect.
Super cool. Alrighty, so the dashboards are something that are quite fresh that we will be updating a significant amount over the coming weeks and months. But essentially, when you land in V1, you're presented with a holistic big picture overview of the entire system. So this is all of your different leads, your contacts, your revenue that's sitting throughout your pipelines, where they're at, what the different stages are at, and what we operate, which what we call is the pirate model, but it's essentially the funnel that goes from awareness through to acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, and then eventually turning into more of an evangelist type character. From the dashboards here today, they're not modifiable, but in the coming couple of weeks, we'll give users the option to add additional customizations to the dashboard, and they'll have the ability to filter any of these on any of the data points. What you get from this as an end state is essentially, hey, at a glance, where are my different users at? Where did they come from? Where are they getting stuck in my funnel? So where is there perhaps a blockage in that funnel that I can simply implement a new growth experiment and activate those users and get them through? And then any of the other, say, big picture functionality that's tied to the core system. I'll give an example towards the end of this as like a custom dashboard, which is what users can be expecting in the coming weeks as well.
Awesome.
From here, you can then drill down into any data point. So if I open up a little contact that I have here, this is not the best example because it's an empty account and I just added a sample contact, but you'll essentially get a snapshot of, on an individual level, what has that person been doing? What are their latest comms? What channels, flows do they go through? Any additional marketing information. So like their first source, their last source, know which campaigns they started from, which ones reactivated them. How are they moving through your pirate funnel? So their journey stage, are they in awareness, activation, acquisition, revenue, and so on? But pretty much anything in terms of a data breakdown. From this screen, you're probably not going to do that much with this. This is just an overview of everything that you'd get from that single individual contact. Magic then happens with the automations and what you can activate in terms of marketing from any of these data points. So if we jump from the contact over to the automation side, beep, boop, beep, boop, what you'll quickly find are what we call our pirate growth flows, or AAARRR. I'm not going to say that too many times, so we'll just call it pirate because R growth flows for now. And then essentially how users are fed and funneled through each of these stages. So what the platform will do will identify based on how they're interacting with your marketing. It will start feeding them through what we call subflows. These are also coming in an upcoming update. But from a big picture, where are they at? What did they click on? What stage are they at? And then what marketing should you be giving to them? Give a super big picture example with our acquisition flow then here. A user, this is what would happen when we get a user as a lead. So they're not yet a contact or a user of our platform. We've just got their data because I know they signed up via an ad, they downloaded a lead magnet, any of that type thing. They pop into the funnel, pop into the flow, and the system is then continuously checking what types of interactions they're doing with your marketing. In this case, you might want to change the type of comms that you're doing, that you're delivering to someone, depending on what they click on in their first emails. This is something you'll typically see in growth SaaS, where products will solve more than one problem, but the marketer wants to find out what is the problem that the user cares about the most. So the system can then look at, hey, what are they clicking at in the email? And then from there, add them to subflows that give them personalized content depending on that marketing activity. All about converting the little 1% as a user goes through the chain. Same thing if that user then graduates, so they move from that lead state to starting a free trial, the system will automatically pull them out of this workflow so they don't continue to get those comms, and it'll add them to the next stage of your marketing flow, which in this case would be, jump back, you can see it here. Give it a sec. There we go. So if they get through the acquisition, they become a lead, they then go into activation. And then the activation, again, different objectives to get a user activated and know the value of your product than what you'd be wanting when you're just sending them, pushing them to upgrade or educating them about the company. From a big picture, I think that covers holistically what the growth type model side of this is. What I'd also say though, this is more than likely the most complex you'll ever get in terms of marketing inside of like growth marketing for software or SaaS companies. This is the type of shit that like that you're like your Netflixes, your Ubers of the world get up to, where they have entire growth teams where they call essentially the stages here their growth levers. And all those teams are experimenting with which nurturing flow, which comms, which personalizations drive users to the next stage and keep you coming back to get that sweet, sweet attention. But from there, anything that is simpler than that can easily be implemented. So if you were to do something like, hey, you've got an idea for a product that you want to launch, you don't want to go out and build the entire product today, whether it's physical or digital, but you want to build up a bit of a wait list and get a bit of hype behind your product. So you set up a landing page. Cool. What do we want to do from there? We want people to sign up to that landing page and then get ongoing comms. That is a typical waitlist type campaign. So we've got an example here built into the system. Get a little sec to open up. And similar example here, users will go through the different stages of a waitlist. In this case, we give templates as well for every single stage with the waitlist example. It opens up. Here we go. So we've got a typical example of what you get when you first sign up to a waitlist. And then you can also go ahead and jump in and customize these templates. This applies to pretty much anything you see within V1. You can tailor just about anything in any way that you want. But here's your templated welcome email. And then from here, you can go in, change anything in the ways that you want it, replace it with your own company branding, add, remove different items, and then set up who it's going out to, who it's not going out to, who do you want in your waitlist, and what should that flow look like. But again, we'll be continuously filling this up. So V1 users will continue to get updates on new acquisition strategies, new flows, new growth hacks, and they'll be added directly to your account so that you can jump in, be like, I like this, but I want to change it a little bit. Change, activate, and you're good to go. I'll finalize Karan the tour with just a little bit of a big picture of the rest of the platform, and then I'll jump into one more use case that's probably more appealing to the broader public. Cool.
Awesome. I think that's a great introduction. And folks, all the Rocketeers watching in, if you have questions, please do put it in the Q&A box. That's a pretty easy for us to kind of go ahead and have your questions answered, because this product is going to be $1 million product. I can tell you right now, because these kind of things is what makes companies money. And these kind of things, if you learn as a marketer, it makes you more valuable, because automation makes you more valuable. You agree to it or not, it makes you, just to make sure you are with V01, you're sticking to it. And yeah, as Alex goes to the whole product, you would be able to understand why you need it right now. And later on, it will be a monthly recurring revenue for them. So because you need to know why you need to jump on the bandwagon as well. So yeah, good job.
Thank you, Karan. I appreciate it. And squad in the chat, and Karan and Antoine, to you guys as well. I live and breathe the growth marketing world day in, day out, and I have for a very long time. So some of these things might seem super obvious to me and I speed through them. But if there are any questions, chuck them in the chat. Antoine will help me keep them while I'm talking, and we'll reverse the situations when he talks. But essentially, any question's a good question. It's also super helpful for me to know what you guys are thinking, so I can go back and make tutorials, guides, videos, and start filling up the knowledge base with more content that can help in this space, especially if it's something that I've just been doing for too long that I forget that I had to go through that learning journey as well. Alrighty, I'm going to continue now with a big picture tour of the rest of the platform, and then I'm going to jump into a somewhat different example of a use case that I think everyone can benefit from day one and start generating leads and making that sweet, sweet cash on autopilot without you doing anything, mostly. All right, let's start off with a quick tour. So we went through, when we got started, the dashboard. We then jumped into the contacts, where we had deeper dive into the individual data points that you have per contact. And then I took you through the automations, which is like, here's your big picture data in the dashboards. Here's the individual data on the contact. Now, any of those data points can be used to automate comms too. And the platform also automates a bunch of stuff in terms of moving people between those visual flows. Now, to complete the system so that you're not also purchasing 6 other tools, there were some things that we wanted that tie quite closely to the growth marketing space. The first one is forms. Forms is something that I also have a bit of a personal vendetta with, because I don't think 90% of marketers use them the right way. And that is that forms should be the first piece that collects the critical marketing data for you. You shouldn't have to be going and chasing your little cheeky marketers to figure out which lead came from which form, which came from which marketing channel. So if I jump into the forms here on V1, you'll see your default form setup where you can create new forms, you can customize them, you can set up your campaign like your waitlist forms. But the main ones that you'll care about are what we call the auto attribution forms. Now, what these forms do and why they're a little bit different is that they automatically collect all of your UTM data. So that's your tracking data in marketing. I'm sure you've seen when you click on an ad, you get the website URL, little question mark, and then a bunch of other random shit after that. That's your UTM data or your tracking data. Now we want to capture that automatically. We don't want you to be having to go back and try and figure out where a lead comes from, right? Otherwise it breaks the whole growth marketing purpose. That's where we then have built these auto attribution forms. So if you click on them, if you want to use them, you can just click on those three dots and clone. Should have done that in the demo, but I got impatient and clicked. Once you click on them, you'll see a form like this where you have your typical first name, last name, email type fields, and then you'll see a bunch of hidden fields sit underneath this. Now, this is where it frustrates me with other tools, because most tools will do UTM-based hidden fields, but no one, as far as I'm aware, gives them to you out of the box and then stores that data as an individual field against an individual contact. And that's the important piece, because we want, when someone signs up to any of our forms, lead magnet, platform sign up, registration, we want to be able to take that little piece of data and then look at it 6 months down the road to know, hey, did that user that came from that original campaign end up upgrading and end up becoming a good paying user? Did that give us a good ROAS, a good return on ad spend? Or was it just another lead amongst the 1,000 other leads that we got? So that's why we have these built in. Users won't see this when you add it to the site, but you will get that data collected then back in the contact. So again, you can trigger any marketing, any segmentation, any comms, any automations off of also your marketing data. So if you wanted someone that came from TikTok to send them a TikTok specific thank you email, you could do that. Or whatever other social platform you're using. I'm not a big TikTok user. I don't know why I went to TikTok. Or you can jump or start filtering down or creating reports on an individual level of, like, for that one specific ad, how many users came through, because that's tracked against those different UTM parameters. That's the forms. That's why forms are in here. And then the last part is probably the calendar piece and the pipelines. Now, the pipelines is what I'll start off with. We use the pipelines for our pirate funnel, our AAARRR metrics. It's a little bit empty or bland here because it's a brand new fresh account. This is what it looks like out of the box. But this is part of what adds the attribution and the reporting, especially financially, for you to be able to see how many of your users are moving through the funnel. You get a little visual representation here. You can drag them across the Kanban board. They will move across automatically as they go through your funnel anyways. But if you did, for whatever reason, need to make some manual changes, you can do that. But more importantly, you can then change this funnel, this pipeline, and create additional pipelines for your own use cases. Most CRMs are built out for sales teams first and put the pipelines first for a sales team type decision. We're building for growth marketers first, but we still need to supply the base tools for sales teams to use. Otherwise, they're just going to fuck off and use another different platform. We set one up for V1 with our investor pipeline. That's why you see an example demo of an investor pipeline here. We use this to manage all of our investor relations. And you can see some examples. Early stage, did we contact them, send them the deck? We also use this internally for our recruitment. So we use the Kanban board inside of our pipelines to see which engineers we've interviewed, which ones we liked. And then as we move them through those stages, it allows us to set up automations to be like, here's the thank you email, here's the next steps email, here's the rejection email. Any of those things, again, can be automated off any of the data points that the system captures. And last but not least is the calendars piece. The calendars piece is not something that's hyper tied to growth marketing. It's something that me and Antoine use so frequently that we decided, hey, let's keep it as part of the platform and let's continue to develop it because we're going to be using this and we're getting so much value out of it for ourselves. But it's not as closely tied to your typical growth marketing stuff. So the calendar is sort of like a Calendly tool. It will allow you to go ahead and create your own calendar, link that calendar back to your Workspace or Outlook account, so people can't double book you. And then from there, it gives you a calendar that you can send out. Again, all the data that's captured through the calendar is automatically stored and tracked within the system. So if someone comes and books a call with you, you can see exactly what website pages they visited, why they booked the call, any custom or additional information that you asked from them. And then that all gets linked in, set up, and automated with the rest of the system. Calendar, I've got a quick example here that just says clone me, but I'll just show you our live version. It's probably a little bit easier. EPS, hopefully there's no bad history. Beep boop, beep boop. v01.app/meet/Alex. I think that's my one. Beep boop, beep boop. Let it come through. There we go. And you can see this is my calendar, again, linked back to my actual calendar, where we send out, in this case, I send this out for some of our bigger MRR customers to do their onboardings and kickoffs. And Antoine also uses it quite a lot with our investors. It's way easier to just send them a link than to try and sync up all that shit. And everything then gets stored and connected back. I think that covers holistically most of the platform. I am realizing now that I've missed the chats. This is pretty basic, so I won't go into too many details here. But essentially, anytime you send out email comms via the platform, if anyone replies to those comms, it gets logged as a chat here. You can also integrate your meta profiles, so Facebook and Instagram, to sync any social comms that come through. So if anyone does send you direct messages, they'll show up here too. And again, that will be linked back to the individual contact. And then just more broadly speaking, if you're working in a team, like I do with Antoine, any comms and messages that he sends goes through the platform. I go through the platform. If I need to catch up on one of his calls, or if I need to jump in, or he books me into a new call, I can go into the CRM and see exactly what messages have been sent, where they're at, see any notes that might have been logged against them as a user. Alrighty, so Karan, I think broadly, and team, I can tell you're the big lead acquisition nerd. You've got so many things. Steve, yes, I am a mega fucking growth marketing acquisition data nerd. And then Steve also asked, in the deal, is there any limits on the workflow automations? Yes and no, Steve. So for any of the automations that stay and happen in platform, that's unlimited, completely unrestricted. You can use it for whatever you want. There are some automations that do cost money. So notably the incoming webhook, if you do use that, the rates are super, super cheap. In regards to the rates, this is the highest they will ever be, even though they are super cheap. I don't think you'll get cheaper from any like Zapier or anything like that. But as we continue to build out our systems and we move away from some of the stuff that we've white labeled into more custom developed stuff, use our own APIs, some of this will move away from a pay-as-you-go model and just be included for free because we have the infrastructure for it at that point. I will link you, or maybe Karan or Antoine, if either of you have the link to the pricing from our help docs for the RocketHub article. We'll chuck that in the chat. And that gives you a good breakdown of just prices and some comparisons to what you can expect to pay the same type of features with competitors.
Amazing.
John Guy says, great application, would definitely use. Oh, thank you, John. I love the compliments, love language as words of affirmation, ego, give it. Karan, I think this covers, broadly speaking, the platform as a whole. I've got one more use case that I'd be keen to share with the audience today. I won't go into super details of it because I have a video that's coming up later today or tomorrow of how to do this exactly step by step.
Awesome. Yep, let's do it.
Super cool. So another use case that you can use this for is what is called cold visitor identification and nurturing. I'm sure you've seen this before, or for the marketers in the group have had this before, where you've set up ads, you've got people clicking, because you're paying. Cheeky ad platforms never miss a beat to charge you. But people aren't signing up and you don't know why. Is it a misconfigured ad? Is it just too many random people using some cheeky click methods to get through and to blow up your own spends? You're missing out on all these people that are visiting the site that are doing nothing. So today, or not just today, but more recently, there's a bunch of cool tools that have come up that do visitor identification, which is a little script that sits on your website. And as soon as a new visitor hits the site, it can pick up exactly who they are, where they're from, what's their LinkedIn page, and what their contact details are. On its own, cool, fancy, but once you plug it into V1, that's where the fun starts to actually happen. So what you could do is you could use something like RB2B. I've got this here. We will have by the end of today, the documentation to integrate with this live on the site. But you could do this with any other platform. We'll have more documentations and tutorials coming soon as well, where essentially what this will do, it will track your website's visitors. And then from there, it will take that data, we'll start feeding it into V1. And then V1 will have, if I jump into the automations here, and I'll just show you this as a quick on-the-fly live setup. So let's say we go into our growth flows. It's an awareness type flow because they don't really know about us yet. They're just visiting our website. And we create a new flow. Let's just call this RB2B. For those who are taking notes, no stress. I've got all this documented and it will be live on the site very soon. I'm just doing a quick speed through in case there's some additional questions.
And even you can watch the recording, once it's on YouTube, so you can watch it again and again. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
Not GB, RB2B. Don't get your spelling right, Alex. Alrighty. So you could do a quick setup with RB2B that just looks at, hey, any new data that comes out of RB2B, so let's say through a webhook, or through Zapier or any other integration that we've got live, pick that up and then start sending them comms. And what we've got preloaded in the system here is, if I just search up for the email, and I hope this is ready for my demo because I didn't practice this. Yes, here we go. Cold website visitor email 1. Chuck that in, save that action, move to the next step, repeat the process. Let's just add a little wait because we don't want to spam email people. Let's do wait 1 day. Save that as an action, do another follow-up email. And again, preset as a template, we've got email 2 here. And you can continue this through the 4 steps of your email. You can jump into any of these templates. They're all written in plain text because they should look like they're going out from your inbox. But as a little sample, hey, first name, because it knows its first name, cheeky black magic tech. So you've stumbled on our little corner of the internet. Nice to meet you. Give them a little introduction and then an invitation for next step. Cold, they never submitted a form, never met them before, but yet you are able to run cold emails on autopilot to these people in the exact same way that you would be running your retargeting ads through like an ad campaign. It's a simple example. It's a good example that I like because RB2B has 30-day free trials that you can just keep renewing, but don't tell them. And it means you can it's another avenue that is low effort, that you can measure the impact of the performance. You can see all the data that's going through the platform, optimize, improve, and then eventually sit back and watch the leads come through and either book calls with you or convert into customers without you having to do anything. I like the use case because I think it's a typical use case, and I think we'll come across many, many more of these over the coming weeks and months as we interact and build the community. With additional growth type hacks like this one, that because you've got a system where the data automatically gets organized, cleaned when it needs to be cleaned, there are no limits, or there are very high limits on the amount of contacts you can actually bring in. So you're not paying for every new lead that you get. It really gives you a lot of opportunities to create some crazy, crazy growth experiments. And the type of stuff that with other platforms, you'd have to be continuously going back to edit every single step, re-edit the data points, make sure they're not double dipping in comms between different flows, and a setup that sure might be possible with like the HubSpots or even the high levels of the world. But go set that shit up for yourself. It's going to take you, your engineers, your data analysts, and someone to come and maintain that work. And that's really where V1 shines.
And of course, I mean, it's going to break your bank if you go and you didn't do it yourself. So yeah, try it out. I think our VC is here and we tell you how expensive it gets.
Yeah. Well, even for us, like my background is really in software companies, but really in like freemium, free trial type SaaS companies. I like being able to build big communities with lots of users, even if they're not all paying customers, right? But then you look at the pricing of some of these other platforms like HubSpot, they charge you on average $1 per contact. So if you build your nice little ecosystem and community up, that grows, I don't know, 50, 100K, that's an immediate 50, 100K bill that you're getting slapped with every single year that only gets worse as you improve and you grow. And that's really something that we didn't want to have. You should be able to build and grow everything with your marketing automation platform or your CRM tool and not get penalized because you're doing well. Carly, jumping in the chat here, regarding the AAARRR, awareness stage is pre-awareness, i.e. within this stage, we're trying to get them to engage, or within the awareness stage, are they already aware? So Carly, what I would say, when you look at a lot of these models across a variety of company, you will often see the first A cut out. And that's because technically when someone is in awareness, you don't normally know who they are, or you don't have any actual data on them. This is changing a little bit with the example I gave just before and some of the newer AI tools that are coming out. We're able to identify who the people who are in the awareness stage are. But typically that has been represented as, hey, look at how many people have hit our Facebook pixel, how much broad traffic we're getting, and they're generally considered within the awareness piece. The rest of the stages tend to be quite similar. So after awareness, you'll typically have acquisition, which is where you find out who they are as a lead. Activation, so then you're trying to activate them into, like get them to value as a user. Retention and retention and revenue are the next two stages. They change sometimes depending on if you're looking at e-com versus SaaS. Stages represent the same thing mostly, but e-com tends to monetize before they try to retain users, as to SaaS tends to try to retain users before they monetize or push towards more heavy upsells. And then the final stage in that flow is that referral stage. And again, that tends to be pretty much the same thing across any example of this model. We call it the pirate model with AAARRR. There are also other names that this goes by. For the most part, I think you'll see in growth marketing the same type of structure across all these companies. Different regions, different people have slightly different naming conventions for them. And it's also partly because growth marketing is quite a new thing. It's only been around-ish for the last decade and not a super, super well-established process like that they would teach you at university when doing a marketing degree. That's a lot of me blubbering. Understood raw awareness. One more question example. Thanks. Fire away with the question, Carly. No worries at all. I'll come back to you. I'll just jump over to Karan next.
I think there's one more question, Alex.
Did I miss?
Yep. Running, can we use V1 to generate leads and sales for
your clients?
For your clients.
Yes. All right. So Sherry, it's a great question, by the way. The way the system is set up is, for the most part, one account is one brand. You can add additional sending emails. You can change the domain names around, but we're really not currently building this towards like just an agency type model. What I would actually, I'll go more into the agency questions a little bit later as we talk more about white labeling, because I'm sure that's going to be one of the topics that comes up. But for now, it's not the #1 priority. There is an avenue that we might make this possible, but I'll talk to it a little bit later. But great question. Otherwise, for yourself as an agency, if you just want to be collecting leads and generating new users, the whole concept of that RB2B visitor identification and then auto nurturing to them was actually a concept that I got from a marketing friend who owns an SEO agency, who was like, could we do this? This kind of sounds like a cool idea. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's give it a try. And it worked really well for him. And then we've started rolling that out now for everybody. So doing the lead generation piece for yourself, yes, 100%. Doing it for other brands, not quite designed for that. And more on that soon. Last question down here from Carly, who's saying, example, a SaaS has a list of 10K potential leads and are targeting them via ads and cold email outreach. Should SaaS add these contacts to V1 or wait until they engage? That is an exceptional question. Okay, so I'll tell you how I do this. And I'll tell you the pros and cons and maybe some of the caveats. we keep our cold outreach separate, except for the visitor identification part. Because the visitors hitting the site are a little bit warmer, they should know who we are if they're hitting us. It's something that I want to monitor and run experiments on more frequently. But for the most part, I wouldn't advise against doing big database blasts to a cold audience outside of a tool that's designed for cold email. And that's because cold email tools, they're set up differently. They don't use a shared IP. So until you guys hit a certain sending limit, you're on the same IP as the other people. We share that. Well, it's our infra that it then runs through and charges. But kind of some caveats, we'll get to that. Cold email tools, they tend to send the emails out of the individual's account. So your actual Gmail or your Outlook account, and then that gets better delivery, keeps you out of spam. It has email warmers tied to it. These are all things on the outbound front V1 will unlikely spend a lot of time on, but can handle some of it, though I wouldn't recommend purchasing the deal if you're just looking at it for cold email. If you're looking at doing things that combine and integrate the cold side, 100%. If you're looking at seeing how they engage and interact with your platform and you want to integrate that data in, go for it. But I wouldn't recommend big database blasts because you'll burn the IP pretty quickly, which is fine. We'll just switch it out. But you'll also burn your own email accounts or domain names, and there's other things that tie into that, and that gets harder unless you're experienced in the cold email game, which if you are, ignore all of this. I'm sure you know everything on this front already. Carly says, cold email and using a separate tool was meaning, should we pre-add them as contacts for V1, not cold email from V1? You don't need to, Carly. If you want to and you've got a list and you just want to be able to monitor, it really depends on how you want to implement an experiment, right? If you want to have a place where you've got that list uploaded and then you want to be able to segment and see from that list how many of them are actually converting, feel free to go ahead and add them. We're not really limiting you in, like, we've got very, very generous limits on how many contacts you can upload into V1. On the other side, if you wanted to do just the email verification, you could also do that through V1. So you can just upload them all, select them all within the list, and then run the email verifier. That will cost some credits. Again, pricing in the links, but you can do that. We give it to you at the same price as what we pay for each verification, essentially. So yeah, yes, you can if you want to. Nothing preventing you from doing it. As long as it falls within your contact limits, go for it. If you need more contacts, upgrade to a higher tier plan. And
but I would say if you have if you folks are operating at a high level, which means you have a lot of contacts, then go for the top tier because you would want to grow something into, right? Don't settle for less, go for more, because one day you're going to have 100K contacts, and you would need this product to kind of automate everything. And it's not easy to shift your automation, right? I mean, it's not easy to migrate to another product because it takes a lot of time and effort to set something. So make sure if you're grabbing the deal, please grab the tier 3 or tier 2 if you have that bandwidth, but go for the highest every single time.
I agree with Karan. Yes. For great questions as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, handing it back over to you, Karan. Anything you wanted to shift to? Any direction? Any further questions?
Awesome. I think let's also show people the AI part of it, the AI aspect of V01, and how we're using AI to the benefit, and how can someone get started, right? Where do they get started? Let's say if anyone's a SaaS founder, how should they connect V01 with their SaaS and the integrations part of it? And then we'll also take up questions. So folks, your questions should be in the Q&A box. So you can enter all the questions there, and then Alex will also take us through the roadmap. Alex and Anne will take us through the roadmap of what's coming next for V01, what's the vision. So let's do it.
Super cool. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. We'll start off with the AI side of things. What I would say as of today, AI is quite basic in its first iteration. Where we want to get to with Antoine and what we're working with Amazon, actually, AWS towards, is we want to get to a state in 12 months from now where you open up the product and on your dashboard, you have, here's your highest performing campaigns, here's what's not working so well, and the AI that tells you, here's what you can do to improve your numbers. Do you want me to do it for you? And you just click yes. And it does all the rest for you. System is already looking at all of your different marketing, all of your different flows, all your channels. It has all the data that it needs to be able to make these decisions. The only missing piece is building out the infra to be able to handle this. That's what we are building towards. We've got some great and awesome partners that are supporting us to get to that vision. But that's also something that's a little bit further away. So until we get to there, we're not going to put a whole lot of focus on the AI piece beyond what is already in the platform today. What is in the platform today is two things: AI content generation, as well as AI analysis. What I'm going to show you is a quick little example of how I'm sure you've already started seeing people use this throughout different comments, like comment sections on socials, things of that nature. So give me one sec again. I'm just reopening the screen share.
Sure.
Tell me when you can see my screen.
We can see the AAR up now.
Awesome.
Yep, we can
Perfect.
see that.
Awareness. Alrighty. So this is one of the flows is looking at AI. So what this is doing is it's monitoring for a specific set of comments on Facebook or on Instagram. And what it's doing, it will then analyze what's in that comment with GPT, and it will generate a response to the comment. Now, what you can add to this is, give a second to load, any additional prompts or customizations to how GPT takes and interprets that data and what it does with the output. In this use case, it's read the comment, figure out what the fuck's going on with that comment, and write a relevant reply. But you might also use this in cases like we've got complex data setups. We're feeding that data into the platform. We want GPT to then analyze the data that's being fed over a webhook, for example. More on this in a tutorial or in the documentation. And then after it analyzes that data, it pulls out what needs to be fed into other places within your system. We're going to get into more complex things here. This would be relevant as we're getting to more advanced growth type experiments, where you've got tons of data that's being fed into a single system, and you don't want an engineer to have to pull it all apart and map it to the right places. GPT can just figure that out and do it for you. So that is the first place. That is the more, I'd say, growth hackery advanced side of the AI things that are implemented today. The second piece is your typical GPT wrapper type application. And that is wherever you have to either write content or generate images, you can use GPT to do that for you. And again, the rates are available on the website, but they're very low in comparison to what you typically expect from competitors. So as an example of that one, I'm just going to open or keep the screen share open. Let's say we want to go and create a little email blast. So I'm going to go here, create new email blast. I'm not going to use, maybe we'll use one of our templates. I don't know, webinar general. I don't remember what's in this template. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Give it a second. All right, here we go. So you can, from here, select the AI icon and generate content with AI, or improve the content, or use any of the options that we have here. So again, this is more of what you'd typically see. I'd say in a lot of the especially the launch type products where it is a version of a wrapper of GPT that does the same thing here. The other one, the analysis, a little bit more advanced towards the next stage. And then where we're trying to take it is to a state where quite literally can replace your level 1 or your junior marketers and just let the system do that work for you. Karan, I think that wraps up for the most part awesome. The AI side of things. Do we have any questions on the AI front so far?
Let me see. Yeah, I think you went through the Kali's questions, right? We should have pre-add them as contacts to v01. You already went through that.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I think AI side of things is great. Awesome. Yep, I think that covers the AI. So next weekend, and of course, folks, please send your questions in the Q&A box again. I think Alex and Anne, we are taking questions now. Let's get to the section where we, showcase them their business settings, how they can start setting it up, the
Yes.
v01.
Great idea. Okay, I'm going to start off this with the help docs. Help.v01.tech.
Yep. And for everyone, the help docs are being built, which means the help articles are being added every single day as the product develops. So if you want, if you are stuck somewhere, go through the docs once, you would be able to see your answer. If you're not able to find it, please contact Alex and Anne through their support. So they'll be able to guide you as to where you're stuck and how you can, continue your journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Karan. I might just add to that as well. Yeah, just if there's something that you can't figure out, type it in the little chat box. So you'll have this chat bubble down here on both the platform as well as the help, anywhere in the help docs, you'll be able to find this. Anything you type in here, I read. And I log, part of our system is essentially anytime we get a comment, look at that comment. Is that referred to in the help docs and can it be solved with an AI bot? Yes, no. In most cases at the beginning, it's going to be no. In which case, we just write the next day the article and the help doc for that. And it helps us sort of more naturally or organically build out our entire knowledge base and documentation. We're investing super heavily into the KB and tutorials. So the more, like full transparency, the more questions you ask me, the more data you give me, the more content ideas I'm going to have to create new tutorials, demos, guides, resources, integrations that come out of those questions. So do not shy away from it, but you can do it all just through the help doc message box question here, if something doesn't exist beforehand. So to get started, I wanted to start on this page because this page really does cover everything that you need to get started. So there's a few things that you want to do when you're first connecting and setting up v01. And we'll do these, just thinking if I've got a free domain, we'll do these over the call here together, and I'll just stop screen sharing whenever I need to do logins, assuming we have time for it. Yeah, we should be good. So there's a few things that we need to do. The first thing is setting up your dedicated email sending domain. Now this is done from your settings page. So from the platform, jump over to your settings. Boop, beep, boop. Please work during live demo. And then from here, scroll down to email services. Now, this is the page that will allow you to configure everything that you need to get emails that land in the inbox. So when you land on the page, you'll get a little warning like this: boost your email delivery, create a dedicated domain. We do want to do that. So this will send then the emails out of your email address, not from the v01 database. So when they get that email, it won't say from v01, it will say from whoever you are. So just jump on here, enter the domain name that you want to map that to. I recommend that you use a subdomain. What that will allow you to do is sort of safeguard your main domain if you do run into any accidental tool blasts that you send to a list that unsubscribed, for example. Shit happens. If that ever happens, then and you're running this on a subdomain, you protect your main domain. On the flip side, you get almost all of the benefits from using a subdomain over your main domain, in the sense that you can still send emails out that look like they're coming from your main domain. Everything will show at yourwebsite.com, but just your config is done via subdomain. And I think on some browsers, if they click view advanced options and they like look at all the email data, then they can probably see it, but no one does that. Anyway, to the point, we want to set up a new domain here. Let's just do, we'll do a new one here together. Let's call this demomail.v01.app. We've got an extra domain under v01.app. In your use case, you'd probably use something more like mail.v01.app. I'm not going to do because we're already using it, but for the use case of today, just subdomain, click on add and verify. The system will then analyze which DNS provider you're with. In our case, we're with Cloudflare, which should automatically pick up. You then go continue. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Give it a little sec to do its magic. Or two. It goes and checks what are your current DNS records, just in case you've got conflicting ones that would, again, prevent deliverability. Assuming you're using a new subdomain, that shouldn't be an issue. It's picked up that our domain name provider is with Cloudflare. So just go ahead and authorize. Alex needs to figure out how he can do this without screen sharing. Okay, I figured it out. Give me one sec. I'll just log into my Cloudflare account and then we'll continue. Almost there, squad. Just 1 second. Two-factor checks, this, that, you know. There we go.
In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, just put it there, so we can answer it.
Steve says I'm quite a noob. No, you're not, Steve. So I'm excited for the tutorials and documentation and commitment. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's a core part of, if you've seen any of my stuff or any of the places I worked, core part of me. I like to build out my audience and do a lot of the marketing through tutorials, docs, teachings, that type thing. Continuing my demo here. So it picked up, domain was with Cloudflare. We need to set up our subdomain so we get all of our records in. You can see it's now going, all right, here is your basic, I think this is the DKIM, SPF, I forget what the last one is. But all the records you need to get going, just go ahead and authorize. Jump back, it's going to take 30 seconds. And then it will go through a verification process. So it does sometimes take time for DNS records to go through. General, they go through in about 10 minutes. Some providers can take up to 72 hours. It will generally tell you it takes 72 hours, but it normally takes like 5-10 minutes. So go ahead. Once they are put through, I'm just going to, it's going to recheck, try to reauthorize. Yes. What? Type in my yes, live demos. I've spent way too much time, I'm realizing this, on email config. I'll speed through the rest. Okay, this just takes a bit of time. You can come back anytime into your DNS set, your email domain settings, once those DNS records have gone through. And then from here, you can go ahead and verify that domain. And it will then, once the records have gone through, you can see some of them have started going through. They're not all quite finished, but once they're all finished, it will just go through here and it will automatically then give you the option to verify and activate that new custom domain. So that's step one, setting up our custom email profile. Second part we want to do is set up our custom domain so that when we do share our calendar link, or if we do share any forms that aren't published on a website, that they are on your own branded domain. Now, you don't have to do this. If you're happy to just use the V1 domains, you can go ahead and do that. Most people, I expect, will want to use their own white labeled domain. So you can do this here. Jump into your business settings. You'll see branded domain. Same thing as for the email settings. I recommend you use a subdomain because you probably already have a main website and you want these things to live on a subdomain. For our use case, we just use x.ourdomain.com. Elon might have ruined that. That's a whole other story. But yeah, whatever you want as a subdomain, just use a subdomain here for the branded domain. So you could just go again, x.v01.app. The setup process is the exact same process as what I just walked you through then with the emails. We'll check with your register, figure out what records are missing, give you the records, add them automatically, and then verify them as soon as they go through. So jumping back to our little help desk guides, we have then got custom domain for emails sorted, custom domain for calendar, forms sorted. We then need to just upload some contacts to start using the platform. To do this, again, super simple. Jump over to V1, go out of your settings, jump over to the contacts tab, and then from here, you can import any of your existing contacts just over a simple CSV. Any CSV works. Once you do upload it here, I might have a sample that I can show you. Give me one sec.
Sure.
think this one will work. Yeah, here we go. So you can see it's picked up from that sample spreadsheet that I uploaded that there are 3 fields in that spreadsheet. All you then need to do is just map them to the correct fields. If there are more fields, you don't have to map all the fields if you don't want to. You can just skip fields. Or if there are fields you don't yet have in V1, you'll need to create those fields before you complete the upload. Just so everything's done and you can do it once and you don't need to repeat processes. But that can also be done. That's also in the documentation. So I'll just show that super quick here. Uploading contacts. When you get to this, you'll see a little warning at the top with a link that I obviously need to fix. But it's the article right underneath that, how to create or delete custom fields. And again, we've just got a step-by-step guide on each of the steps that you need to create or delete those custom fields. So that at that point, you've then got all the infrastructure set up and you've got your base contacts in the system. You can start running automations to them. The piece that you're then not missing, but you would want to continue to use the system is you want data to continuously flow, right? So any new leads that come through, you want that to be pushed in. There's a few ways that you can do this. Again, I'd invite you to go check out the help docs under the integrations tab, because this is also going to be a growing collection as well. But essentially, the way most people will do this is just over forms. They'll go to the forms, they'll create a form, like a lead magnet form that they want. They'll set it up here, and then that will automatically do all the capture, the storing, the logging, and all things that you need for your contact data. The second way is if anyone is sending you responses to the emails, reaching out via socials that you've got connected to the system, we will also pick them up, store that data against the contact and create a contact that way. And then for ongoing integrations, so for the less technical, we have a Shopify integration coming super soon. I'll have tutorials on that before the end of next week, as well as Zapier and Pabbly. Both of those are live. Both of them are super easy to use. I have a custom Zapier, which I'll show you in just a sec. And then the final way is over Webhook. Webhook covers then like 99% of other use cases. Almost every platform has a default webhook integration, and that's just simply if you want to send data out of V1, you can do it over Webhook, or if you want to bring data into V1, you can do it over Webhook. That's just done through the automations. But again, all of this is documented and explained in the docs over here.
Awesome.
Once you've got that done, as a super quick recap, so we've got infrastructure set up, we've got the contacts that are imported, we've got our AAARRR flows set and ready to go, and we've got new contact data that's flowing in from the different marketing channels that we just went through, or directly through your app, whether that's over Zapier, Webhook, or any of the other integration methods that we introduce into the future.
Awesome. This is great. So I think folks who are attending this consider this even as a masterclass for automation. This is like what the flow you take through, how you take it, and because this flow matters, and this is how even the journey of every individual is. So consider this as a tool to kind of map your customer journey, right? Give it a base, give it a structure. So you don't have to manually do everything, right? So you automate it once, you set it up for life, and that system is running 24/7. You're sleeping, you are getting leads, your leads are being delivered emails, your emails are being clicked upon. Your cart is open, it's being worked upon. Your contacts are being imported automatically. So everything is working in your favor. You don't need to hire more people because of this, right? You don't need more infrastructure costs because you get V01. So everything is done for you.
Absolutely.
Over here, you just need to come, set it up, and get started right out the gate. So yeah,
I appreciate
thanks,
that.
Alex. I think that was a great kind of setup tutorial for the whole product. I think that was amazing. And yeah, go ahead. I think you're seeing something.
Yeah, no, it's just I appreciate it. I completely agree. I can think you've just brought a use case to mind that we have, was because we do so many meetings with both investors and new partners. We had a big meeting cancellation rate. Simplest way to solve that, send them an email before the meeting, 5 minutes before, an hour before, 24 hours before. I give them the option to reschedule. Again, something that you can do directly through the platform. On the more education side and piece, I think I can share some of this with the community. We're going to invest pretty heavily into education, into growth marketing education as well, because it's not super well established or taught in a lot of places. So that will come through our own community, through our YouTube channel. And as we output more content, some of that content will be growth marketing educational material. Between us, we're also in the works of a partnership with, I think, one of the biggest or the biggest growth marketing school called Growth Tribe.
Awesome.
To
Yeah, I love
get
them.
some marketing material and some training content out with them. We'll be looking to do both V1 first content for their community, but also Growth Tribe content for the V1 community. This is super early. We've only had 2 meetings, but hopefully it all goes through. They're an awesome team. I think they like us. I like them. You can expect a lot more around the marketing education piece. And
Awesome.
like for everything else, included for all V1 customers, lifetime or subscribers, same.
That's great news. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think people are already loving it. Awesome. And we wanted to hear from your end. What do you think? And make us understand from the perspective of all the personas which you aim for v01. What benefit can they drive with v01 from your point of view? Or how do you see it? We wanted to hear from you as well.
If we took perhaps a couple of personas, and I can maybe talk to a little bit more of how we see our different personas and customers too. But maybe off the bat, we can talk to the software company, SaaS company. Your typical SMB business type owner, a little bit around agencies and e-com. I'll start with the SaaS side. That's what I'm the most familiar with. And that is what our current also assumption, diving a little bit into the VC world at the moment, or the fundraising world. Our current, what they call ICP, so ideal customer profile, is your typical SaaS company that is at 1 mil plus in recurring revenue, has a team of about under 50 people, of which there tends to be 2 to 5 marketers-ish. These are the guys that have the most complex needs in terms of growth marketing tools. Those guys are also me, so I understand them quite well. And that's, for the most part, what we build for in the first use case at the moment. Again, take that with some salt because we are very new. And that persona may evolve as we evolve and we develop and we discover new niches or new verticals. These guys, the biggest benefit that comes for them is operating off a pirate model out of the box. Actually, everyone, I think, should operate off a pirate model, but I'm biased. Take it for what you want. But it's a structure that scales with you, works really well. You can start with a pirate model from day one, just use parts of it as a system that will follow you until you reach Netflix level growth. Like, they operate on the same type of models. It's a model that's scientific, well-researched, documented, and used throughout the industry.
Awesome.
So software companies, you're going to benefit, especially as we continue to build out new comms and materials. What we build for us gets given to you as well. The new journey flows, the new hacks that we discover, the templates, the wait lists, any of this, everything that we build also gets given to our users, and you can access that through the template system inside of V1. I think I won't go too much more detail because I can go into SaaS detail forever. But from a big picture, if you know pirate, like growth marketing, you're familiar with the pirate funnel, you will love this shit out of the box because no one does this the way that it's intended to be done.
Yep. Perfect.
The second biggest use case or biggest customer group that I expect that we work with is e-com.
Yes.
And this is because they also tend to eventually pivot to a growth model, despite some of the order of things being changed. They have very similar needs. E-com, you also want to know which customers are coming back. You want to bring them back because, you know, us cheeky humans, unless someone is dangling the carrot right in front of us and making us do just one click to purchase it, we're not fucking buying it. So that type works. So any of your cart abandonment recovery, deeper analysis of types of users, types of interactions, the refeeding of ads. I'm sure you've seen this before. You'll get an ad for a product, you'll buy the product, and then you keep getting the ad for the product that you bought that you now don't need to buy. That's a cost for the company. That's something that V1 can alleviate because you can move people through ad audiences as they move through different journey stages.
Correct.
So ecom, SaaS, I think those two groups will live quite close to each other, and they'll see a lot of the most direct education work, tutorial work out from the team. They're also probably the two most complex use cases because they have a lot more data, a lot more contacts, and a lot more just general marketing that needs to flow out in comparison to your typical mom and pop shop. On the mom and pop shop or the SMB and the more agency type side, full transparency on this, I don't think there's not a plan today to work towards building this into an agency only product. I think there are lots of products on the market out there, notably high level, which I think we'll talk to a little bit whenever you're ready, Karan. I'm ready.
Yep, after this.
But as an example, high level, but there are many others out there that specifically address the agency type market. I think they can continue to serve the agency type market. The biggest use case that your agencies are going to get is not in what you can do for your customers, but what you can do for yourself. So the example that I gave before with visitor identification, your own lead gen ads, the tracking of your people on a more like through the pipeline, so like on a more proposal project like basis, the reminders, the comms that they get, the book meetings, the automations around that. That is what will work well for the typical smaller business and agency type crowd. I think it's a good transition to talk a little bit about the high level stuff, unless you had a question on this front before I jump to it.
Yep. Great.
Yeah.
So I think I was just going through some questions, right?
Yeah,
the community was writing about, and some people said, can it work for coaches and communities?
Yep.
So for example, let me just give you one use case, and after this we will jump in. Let's say we have a Facebook group, right? So let's say if someone is using Facebook group or someone is using school.com,
Yep.
right? That's what they call it. So can that onboarding be automated? Let's say, for example, if someone has joined the community, and send them an email. Let's say, and of course, when we saw that someone has a birthday, send them happy birthday to you, Mr. Alex, stuff like that. So can that be done?
Yes, absolutely. These groups, so essentially any group that has large volumes of contacts will benefit a lot from the system. Because we have super generous contact limits. So you're not paying every month just to have a large amount of contacts. And then B, because of how the system will move them through the flows, or how you can change the triggers for those flows, they would apply to those type of users. Anyone also that you can look at like as a platform and be like, hey, I need my users to get to their aha moment as fast as possible for them to realize the value. And then once they're there, I need to keep bringing them back. Then once they come back, I need to upsell them. Anything that ties to those 3 steps is an excellent use case for V1.
Yep, agreed. Cool. Yep, I think so Sherry has
Sherry's hitting hard.
Touched the topic. Yeah. So of course, I put it in a very normal manner.
Yeah.
As to we have a base for v01, and that base is based upon high level, right?
Yes.
And that's great, I think, because they're very, very good product. And people were saying something that, okay, it's a white label. It is not, right? It's a base.
Yes.
It's same like if you use a SaaS product. That if you've heard of Medtronic is one of the SaaS boilerplates sold on Envato. You can use that, build your SaaS, customize it, make it unique. That's the use case. So let us know how v01 is being powered by high level and why it's a good thing and it's an amazing thing. Yep. So stage all yours, of course, because many people were talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We can discuss it, and so people should know that that's not what the perspective is. The thing
Yeah.
is something else.
What I think off the bat, people should know, there's probably like 5-6 CRM boilerplates that I reckon a good 99% of CRM companies use.
Yep.
It's also why if you do look a lot of at the competition, if you take away the giants, right, the HubSpots, the Active Campaigns, the Klavios, who have been around for decades, if you look at any startup in the marketing automation or CRM piece, you'll quickly notice that it looks very similar. And that's because they all build off, as you're saying, a very similar boilerplate. Now, we decided to start with high level or lead connector, which is what they refer to it as, like their boilerplate product, for a few reasons. The first was I managed to build this system out for Web Studio when we were at Web Studio after trying, I kid you not, like at least 20 different CRM systems, many of which cannot be customized to the extent that we needed it to be customized without having to like fundamentally rebuild a lot of shit. We didn't want to do that. We found that it worked well when we were building it out for Web Studio. For those who do know, and I'm sure many of you have seen, Web Studio team are like your big brain engineering geniuses that think 162 steps down the line. For me to get any CRM through the door was a challenge. So we did our homework, a lot of research onto the different platforms, the different boilerplates, building everything custom, using some bases white labeled, whether it is white labeled or open source type products. We ended up settling here because it's a team and a company that is very well established, just raised money, 1,000 employees in their company now, most of which live in the support and dev side, a massive community, especially a mass dev community as well that we work with and we interact with. And the product was at a state that we could take it and build exactly what we wanted on top of it and continue to build what we have in our vision in getting to sort of an AI first automation platform, a growth marketing platform, but also really following and adopting that growth model and keeping the growth model top of mind. The other benefits that this brings is they continue to publish their own updates and changes. We then get to decide if we want to roll those out, push them through to users. There's going to be some stuff that they release that would be of value that we want to continue to build and maintain, in which case the community benefits from it as well. But I do also want to make it very clear, and I think there's some confusion along this in the community. If you went today and you went to bought any of these products and you put V1 beside it, they are very different products. The UI looks quite similar, yes, in some cases, not in all cases. Some areas where the structure is the same. The automations, the way the pirate funnel works, the way the data is handled, the custom built automations, and that's without even getting to the shit that we've got in the works with all of the new templates, the different updates, the new strategies and flows, plus the new engineering work that we're working on. Completely different products, completely different worlds, and just not a realistic, I think, comparison for someone to go, or for anyone, and I would invite them to as well, to come and be like, hey, it's the same thing. Because if you use it, you'd know it's not. Or if you use the other side. The other side, and last point that I want to leave this with, this is not something we've decided on yet, but something that I'd be open to, depending on how people take it or what they decide on, was if there is a large group in the agency space that wants to run this as an agency, I'd be open to, and again, would have to run this through as a team and get into more detail and like properly plan it through, but open to making some of the customizations and the work that we've done available to agencies that also want to build their own systems.
Yep.
If it is something that we decide to do, I'd be more than happy to include it for the existing lifetime deal holders. As a general rule, anything that we build that can be scaled is included for lifetime deal holders. It doesn't make sense to not include them. You're the earliest supporters. But again, it's something that will take additional resources and time and maintenance, and we want to do things right. And I think you can see a lot of how we've built out the platform is built out in a way that makes it as easy for anyone to get into growth marketing, which is typically quite a difficult space to get into. So yeah, maybe if there's enough demand for it, we'll look onto that side of things as well. If people want to be able to use what we've built on top of other systems, but otherwise it's quite unique.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome. Yeah, Sherry, I think thank you for understanding as well. I think many people need to understand that there are two different things. So never mix it up. And it's very obvious. Like Alex has been a great founder before and has been inside Germany building great things and working with great people. So v01's future is very bright. And if you folks have any questions, just type right now in the Q&A box because it's very late for them as well. It's like I think they already passed the next day, so they're around 29th of August. And they also have to go and take a nap, take a sleep. So make sure you had all your questions right now. We take it real quick in the Q&A box if you have any. If not, then Alex, and I think you gave a great closing statement. And before we wrap this up for you and make you free, anything you have to say for the RocketHub community and the people watching right now? And of course, everyone grab the D right now. It's live on RocketHub. The early bird code will expire on Monday morning EST. So go and grab it. And Alex and Anne, the final stage is yours. The closing, thing before
absolutely.
you drop the curtains. So it's yours now. And of course, speak your hearts.
Yeah, I might hand over to Antoine. I know I've been speaking throughout tonight, and for as we explained at the beginning, I work more on the marketing, growth, product, user front. As to Antoine is really the one that makes all of this possible. Like I can only be here this energetic because he's behind the scenes fighting the hard battles with other people, and also on a weekly basis be like, Alex, what the fuck's going on? get back on track. No, so if anyone, what I'd say, and I'll open up to the room and to Antoine as well before I do a final close off. Antoine is as involved in the company as I have, despite being the one that talks his fucking head off. He is the backbone and the support of the business throughout. He's also a veteran in the startup and VC space, which is a space that even for me that has been in startups for a decade is still a daily battle. So if anyone does have any questions for us on v01 front or on what it's like going through the journey of building a company, interacting with investors, getting great partners and supporters and advocates, do not shy away from reaching out, from commenting, from posting, whether it's over a direct message, in a tag, or in our V1 community.
And also
awesome.
Maybe one from me. Thank you so much for it doesn't matter how late it is for us because we are here for you. We're working every day, literally every day. And we do appreciate so much your support. You can't believe how much value is it also for us having you with us. So any questions? If you have anything we can help you with, LinkedIn, Facebook, just drop us a line.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I'll wrap it up, Karan, and I'll hand back to you. Sorry. And spot on. Sorry. No, and is spot on. And yes, we could not do it without you. You are the reasons why we get up and out of this every morning. It's a bit of a crazy, wild hustle, but there's nothing I'd rather be doing as well. So yeah, all the support, especially on socials, the comments, both questions, hard questions, and as well as the obvious support, it goes so far, and it's what keeps us fighting the good battles and getting up every day. Cheryl
Awesome.
and John, the last two questions we got here. What inspired you guys to create this, and where can you reach us? John, the inspiration to create this, I'll keep it super short because we're sort of closing up. But the inspiration came out of a few places. One, the frustration with the existing landscape and how difficult it is to make any system work for a growth marketing model. Two, a lot of this also from the pricing and how other companies are pricing, but also like what they're doing in business in general, how much they're pricing, how much they're charging, which I find to be ridiculous in some cases, and then how much fucking capital they're raising and like hundreds of millions of dollars that they're getting for what I see as like not good enough. So a lot of that fuels me and gets me at sort of why we got started. Similar boat. I won't go into too much detail for Anton, but I'm sure it's a similar boat for him, as well as the interaction that we have and the relationship that we have as two founders. It's super, super complimentary. Cheryl, you can reach us. Anyone here can reach us and follow us on LinkedIn. That's probably the best spots. We'll chuck the LinkedIn links in the chat here as well. We'll also update the site to have our LinkedIn. I know it does on the story page. We have our LinkedIn profiles there. That is the best place to follow, interact, and reach out if you have any questions. But otherwise, the support that you give us in the Facebook groups helps tremendously, both from hacky growth marketer brain that knows every interaction that you reply to, bumps it up in the algorithm, that gets it in front of more people, that fuels that loop. But also for me and Anton, it goes to the heart. It makes us happy and want to get out of bed every day. And that in turn, you'd be surprised the speed at which shit gets built out and developed with happy founders is always, always good.
Yep.
Yeah, no, reach out anytime. Open books, any questions about anything that we're building, whether it's business front, tech front, software front, reach out. Join the SaaS Founders Club as well, which is one of the main groups that we first launched in and that we're quite active in, as well as lots of other SaaS founders, an awesome little community there. And again, from both of us, thank you all so much. It's
Awesome.
It's an awesome journey. It was the first time around, and it's even better this time.
Yeah. Amazing. And of course, that's where RocketHub is. We don't have Chagi today. Chagi is kind of on the cruise, but Chagi normally jumps in these conversations, and he also adds like, okay, why it's important to kind of support SaaS companies, SaaS startups doing this, because in the future, like all the companies, like they are going to charge you a heck of a lot of money to make it happen. Go and take a look at Ahrefs right now. No offense if you love Ahrefs, but yeah, people are jumping ships from there to somewhere else. So get on the journey early with people. Both of them are amazing founders, and RocketHub supports that. So RocketHub is all in for listening to any feedback you have. If you want to reach out to us, and we can make it happen. And grab the D from RocketHub right now. Again, I'm just plugging it in, being in the sales mode, sales guy I am. So grab the D now and let's make this happen. Okay. So thank you so much, Alex, and for your time. I know we took a lot of your important time out of your schedules. So yeah, but I think this was very fruitful. And once this recording is out, this will be a massive realization. And for many people. So yeah, thanks so much for coming and sharing your story today.
No, thank you, man. Really appreciate you having us. And in the second round, there's not a partner that I could be happier doing this with. And I've been through the lifetime partners at this point. And like I said earlier, everyone, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Anything whatsoever, just reach out, hit us up. Always human to human, always here to help, and excited to build some cool shit together.
Awesome. All right, Rocketeers, thank you so much. Where you are, good night, good evening, good morning. I know for the this side of the world, Australia is right now waking up, and Vietnam is going to sleep right now. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Silicon Valley calls coming up.
Yeah, Silicon Valley, they're right now having fun.
Yeah. Time zones. Fun. No, it's awesome. Thank you all so much. I'll see you all around online.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye, squad.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, and bye.